The meeting is called to order at 6:35 p.m. Please rise and the clerk will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Can I please have a motion and a second that the agenda of the December 9th, 2025 be approved as submitted?
So moved. Second.
Linda, you get that? Okay.
Yes.
All in favor? All in favor, none opposed? And can I please have a motion and a second that the board approves the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
You got that? Okay. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed? And can I please have a motion and a second that the treasurer's report, including the cash report, general fund cash report, the general fund revenue status report, general fund budget status report, school lunch fund cash report, and the school lunch fund revenue and expense budget report for the month ending August 31st, 2025 be approved?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor, none opposed? And so now I will turn it over to the superintendent.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and good evening, board. Tonight we have Principal Leanna Watt joining us so that she can take us through the 26-27
Student representative. Oh, sorry.
course description guide. So we'll invite you up now to join us. There should be a clicker there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. So I want to start. First of all, thank you for having me. I did the same presentation last night for our PTSA, kind of pending board approval tonight. So I'm happy to have the opportunity to talk a little bit more about it tonight, and want to start by thanking Dr. Maloney, because this is a huge effort to put together this course guide. Dr. Maloney, all of our directors, our assistant principals, our teacher leaders, department members. It's a lot of work to make this document sort of read the way we'd like it to, and really make sure that it's describing the courses that we offer, not characteristics of students. You know, I've talked to you about that in years past, so it's a labor of love, and so I'm excited to be able to share with you some of the consistent elements of it and some of the updates to this upcoming school year. So our master schedule, as we develop it, starts with the development of the course guide, and I've shared in the past that really our major goal in developing the course catalog and master schedule is to make sure that there's access for students. We want to make sure that we're not creating schedule conflicts, meaning that there are multiple sections, if possible, for students to be able to take, not just kind of pigeonholed into one section during the school day. We want to make sure that there are a variety of options so that students have access to lots of post-secondary choices that they can explore, rule out, explore more deeply, and in some cases with college credit available to them. And of course, maintaining that rigor through our dual credit opportunities is still a huge goal for us, and I have some more to share about that tonight, some additions we're looking into. And of course, to do all of this, remaining fiscally responsible. This is one of the first pages that families will see in our course guide. It outlines really nicely the different diploma types and sort of what's required of students once they get to the high school. Students need 22 credits to graduate from high school. There's two main diploma types that we see typically from students. Most often is the Regents Diploma, and then there's also the Regents Diploma with Advanced Designation. This outlines for families what classes are required, what classes Penfield really wants to promote and make part of the full picture of a profile of our student who's graduating, as well as the different exams that students need to pass in order to earn these different diploma types. To look at this as a parent or a student can be a lot to take in. So we use this planning sheet. Our counselors actually are primarily responsible for this. It does help students because you can see by grade level what is required, and then where choice comes into the mix a little bit, right? So you can see for an incoming ninth grader, There are some areas that are, there are several choices that students have to make depending on the path that they are taking. And with each year, those choices increase for students, right? So required courses plus some electives that are mixed in here. Again, students use this to plan, parents use this to help guide students in their decision making, but it's really the role of our counselors to make sure all of these requirements are being met as they give students that guidance. I'm just going to go through each discipline and highlight some aspects of it. You can see for yourself, starting with art, there are several options available to students in different mediums. There is a music, art, or technology requirement that all students have to meet during high school. Lots of ways that they can do that. Our art program, we're so proud of. The portfolio class in particular is a capstone course available to students who are choosing to pursue art once they leave the high school. We also offer our AP Art History course, again, for students who want to continue to work towards dual credit, as well as, continue exploring art as a study once they leave high school. Next is our business department, an ever-growing department in our building. Lots of interest in taking these courses. I've highlighted here for you several dual credit opportunities that students can take advantage of. I also just want to highlight for you at the bottom of this slide, starting next school year, we are moving forward and aligning with New York State's Portrait of a Graduate expectations around the financial literacy component that New York State's really emphasizing for our students. So we've been preparing for this. We've been expecting this. We know how to make this happen. And so starting next school year, all of our incoming freshmen will start to embed this into their required courses sometime before they graduate. So that's a big positive improvement in terms of the overall experience that students have in our building, that they will now be required by New York State to have that financial literacy course. So we're ready for it. Our English department, again, you can see by grade level sort of the offerings available. We're happy to announce, with Mrs. Conway's support in leading our English department through this process, 2 new courses. We have our Women's Literature course as well as our Film Studies 2 course. Both of these have high student interest, which prompted our teachers to really propose and develop these new offerings for students to take as elective credits at the high school. We have a Film Studies 1 course that is very, very popular, which prompted us to kind of fill out the rest of the school year being able to study that in more depth. Again, highlighting lots of dual credit AP opportunities and SUP opportunities for students. Of course, we have our health offerings. Health 1 is required for every student in New York State. Penfield also requires Health 2 as a graduate from our district. We have a very strong commitment to making sure that there's not a one and done kind of health curriculum experience, right? That there's a more sophisticated, more advanced, mature content and topics that are being discussed before students graduate from the building. We also work with Delphi to teach a course that is specific to students who are at risk. Sometimes this also can serve as a health credit for students, and students are recommended into that course. Our music department, also something we're very, very proud of. Again, this could be one way that students earn that initial sort of special area credit during high school. We have many students who will continue to study music throughout their high school career, and we've done a great job of building out some of the opportunities for students to take. A couple of years ago, I think now maybe 2 years ago, I introduced the studio recording and sound engineering course. Still very popular. Students still love doing that. It's an incredible space that students work in with incredible equipment that they have access to. So that's still going strong. And again, still continuing to offer the AP Music Theory course for students. The math progression, don't let the math you. It looks more intense than it is. There are a lot of options for students. Again, those who are choosing to accelerate, double accelerate, students who are sort of on a traditional trajectory. You can see each year it becomes more rigorous for students in the options that they have. Notice, and this was true for all of the slides, any course that has an asterisk next to it is a course that has a Regents exam associated with it. Okay. And again, several upper level opportunities for students. And we've talked about this in the past, but there is still opportunity when student gets to high school to accelerate, right? They don't miss that opportunity once they're in middle school. They still have a chance to do that. I'm just highlighting for you, we're kind of coming into the last phase of the new exams for math. The easiest piece of this slide to look at is the very bottom, actually, where it outlines for you. We've passed the checkpoint for the Algebra 1 exam, geometry, and now we're coming on to the Algebra 2, brand new Algebra 2 exam. That happens in early June, and so we'll be administering that exam for the very first time this June. Science, again, this is organized for you if it's easiest to look at this by column, right? Sort of the traditional trajectory for a student in the core regents area: earth and space science, biology, chemistry, and physics. That's the sort of standard pathway students take, and you can see as you move on to the right, it can get a little bit more, actually a lot more rigorous for students. Highlighted there, you see chemistry and physics. Those are highlighted because this year, there's brand new exams being offered. However, we are not going to participate in that yet. We're not required to yet. And so last year, we did participate in the brand new administration of earth science and biology, jumped in with both feet, the whole body, actually, and are going to sort of pause and see how this new administration goes for chemistry and physics, learn from some of the districts around us, and make sure that we're really prepared once we see the test and know how to better prepare students for that. So next year, a year from now, our students will be preparing for a brand new exam. And this just kind of highlights that progression for you. You can see how they've rolled that out, elementary all the way up through high school. Physical education, another area that we're really proud of in terms of the unique nature of our elective opportunities for students. This is not the case in many districts. So our students in phys ed take 9th and 10th grade, they're combined grade levels for that, and that's relatively traditional. But when students enter 11th and 12th grade, they get to choose which courses they take for PE. We have several options. One that we're super proud of is the unified physical education opportunity. So just like unified sports, right, bowling, basketball, we do have students who participate in unified PE. It is an integrated opportunity for some of our students who are multiply disabled to be able to push in and be in an integrated setting with general education students. Not much change to social studies overall. However, just want to highlight that there are several, again, upper level dual credit opportunities for students to take advantage of. Just a point of emphasis, again, the asterisk points out a Regents exam. Even our AP students take the Regents exams, right? They do both of those, okay? And technology, again, ever growing. We are always having very, very high interest in our technology courses. The cybersecurity class, which was new, a lot of interest in that, and we are going to be pursuing that also becoming a dual credit course, just like the rest here, either through Syracuse University or through MCC. A new addition to our world language department, again, trying to capitalize on opportunities to recognize if students are prepared to accelerate forward. We still offer all three languages, right? French, Spanish, and German. I'm highlighting there the Spanish 2-3 because we are recognizing that some of our Bay Trail students come to us and are ready to keep going, right? They're ready to be able to do more. So, and being able to take Spanish 2 and 3 at the same time, students are able to kind of hop that little 10th grade column and move on to the next level. It also gives them more availability to take that AP course at the end of it. We're really trying to build that out. We know from year to year it doesn't always run. We're hoping that this will help that along. Again, everywhere you see college Spanish, all dual credit through MCC. And again, our special education services and ENL services all, move through the CSE process, and we are really proud of the continuum that we've built out, particularly with special education, and having integrated co-taught classes as well as 1211 options for our students. In BOCES programming, we can't go without acknowledging the incredible partnership we have there. I think this school year we have around high 80s, maybe 90 students overall between juniors and seniors participating in this vocational programming. We're really, really lucky to have this opportunity for students. They spend half their school day learning a vocation while also being able to fulfill their graduation requirements in our building. So this serves as sort of their elective credit. And again, we have students who thrive in this setting, and we're really lucky to have that opportunity for them. So our ninth graders, that's sort of like the next big step. They're going to work with their school counselors as they make some decisions and start choosing which courses are still available for them to choose. Much of it is required when they come into ninth grade. But our school counselors are going to be starting to work with our ninth graders, next our 10th and 11th graders, and making sure that students are starting to make the selections so we can then do the big task of making the master schedule. So believe it or not, that happens starting now, right? So after tonight, we really start the process of building the schedule all the way through the rest of winter, spring, and summer. Really long process, but a really important one. And so I welcome any questions that you might have about the course catalog, the master schedule, or any of the next steps that are outlined for you. Sure.
You mentioned the financial literacy that's going to start next year with the freshmen,
Yes.
kind of be rolled into their
Yes.
stuff. Is there anything next year? Does anything happen with the upper classes and financial literacy?
So as we prepared for this, so the course is offered currently, right? That's a course that we've always offered. When we started looking into what would it take to make sure every student had the opportunity to take this course, we realized that right around 70% of our students are already taking this course by choice. A high percentage of students already take it. So the requirement doesn't go into effect until those incoming freshmen come to us.
Got it.
So we're trying to align with that. But good news, plenty of students are already taking it. Yeah, Pat.
Yeah, I'm absolutely impressed with the course catalog. I really sometimes wish I could go back and then retake high school again with the opportunities that the kids have. I also think it's a brilliant idea to not jump into the Regents this year and to be able to see it first and then know how to prepare the kids for it. Because to jump in and have the state not give us a good direction on how to prepare the kids for it just sets us up. So I love your direction to do that. Coming from a past science teacher,
Yeah.
I would love that Penfield is doing it that way.
A collaborative decision for sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. Any more questions, board members?
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job.
Thank you. And I agree, it is absolutely a collaborative effort. Thank you, Leanna, for all of the work that you do to prepare the course catalog and to share every year for the board. At the end of the meeting, the board members will vote to approve the course catalog for the 25-26 school year. And so now, as we transition, we're moving into superintendent's reports, and we're going to start with Liam and Aiden to provide a student rep report for us tonight. We have Juliana that's not with us tonight, and Lila is our alternate, and she's not here tonight, so we're going to just lean into the both of you so that you can provide us with those phenomenal school updates.
Good evening and is this on? Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening and happy December, everyone. Tonight I'll be reporting on the high school, Harris Hill, and on behalf of Lila, also the high school and Indian Landing. At the high school, our Best Buddies Club teamed up with the robotics team for an after-school event called Best Row Buddies. That was just one of the major events that occurred over the last fall, joined by the Fall National Honor Society induction ceremony, the opening of the Fall Play, A New Style for Murder, and a fall feast for ENL families K-12 with activities, faculty participation, and connections with families. The PHS Teachers Club had a training day in the UPK classroom at our school. Over at Harris Hill, building administrators have begun their listening sessions with students, which includes meeting with small groups of students from each grade level to learn more about what they like about the school and what can be improved. Students participated in another Walk the Talk assembly at the start of November. The focus for the months of November and December is caring. Students around the school made cards for veterans and will continue to make cards for children and the elderly in hospitals for December. Speaking of veterans, Harris Hill hosted their annual Veterans Day celebration on November 10th, where they welcomed veterans of family members and many in the community. Students honored veterans through songs, poetry, and by giving thanks. For example, my sister, a second grader at the school, recited a poem with her class and gave a short thank you speech to my grandfather who was in the Navy. The kindergarten team hosted their annual kindergarten celebration, where students performed and played games with family members who attended. Harris Hill staff hosted a monthly Best Buddies meeting with student participants, helping children feel connected to their peers in their school community. In celebration of New York State STEAM Day, the high school robotics team visited all 4 elementary schools to give robot demos and presentations to the students on November 5th. Here's what a student on the team had to say about the event. New York State STEAM Day, which is celebrated annually on November 8th, recognizes the importance of science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics within our communities and is celebrated statewide as the result of 1511 Rolling Thunder's advocacy efforts. As part of a STEM-oriented organization, 1511 organizes STEAM Day demonstrations throughout each of the district's 4 elementary schools. At these events, 1511 students demonstrated a robot, inspiring students throughout the district by showing them not only the power of STEAM, but also about the incredible STEAM programs that they can become involved with right here in Penfield. That's it for my report, and now I'll move on to Lila's report on Indian Landing and the high school. Starting with the high school, some exciting things have happened and are coming soon. Everyone is excited about the opening of the new library and the new bathrooms after the December break. It's sure to have a great positive impact on students' day-to-day at school. Students also have been participating in many fun activities. LCE students volunteered at the Penfield Economical Food Shelf. Key Club honored veterans with thank you notes and care packages, and the Spanish Honor Society wrote thank you cards to Spanish veterans. It's been a fun month for the high school community, and everyone is excited about the upcoming break. At Indian Landing, many activities have brought students and family members closer to the school community. They are 6 weeks into Second Step, a program teaching social-emotional learning skills to students. Indian Landing also hosted a family literacy night, giving parents and caregivers hand-on learning sessions related to the science of reading and ways to support reading at home. They also brought 43 veterans to the school for their Veterans Day event, with each grade doing a different activity for them. Lastly, Indian Landing started their Holiday Helping Hands initiative and collected over 750 food items so far for people in need. Those are all the updates for right now. I'm excited to share more next month. Thank you for listening.
All right, hello everyone, and happy holiday season. After my report, I'll read Juliana's because she's not here, so stick with me for that one because I haven't even read that over yet. We first need to recognize the impressive athletic accomplishments this fall. At the high school, both boys volleyball and football brought home sectional championships, the football championship being the first in school history. Several teams also advanced to regional or state competitions, including gymnastics, cross country, girls swim and dive, football, and boys volleyball. The boys volleyball team ended up winning states too. Winter sports are now officially underway as tryouts have wrapped up and teams prepare for the season ahead. We also want to celebrate a very special recognition for Mr. Wolf, a business teacher at the Penfield High School, who was awarded the Golden Apple Award after being nominated by students. He was featured on News 8 on Tuesday, November 25th. Congratulations to Mr. Wolf for everything he brings to our school community. All right. And moving on to Cobbles, the annual Veterans Day Car Parade took place on November 10th. Over 30 veterans drove through the bus loop while students cheered them on with flags and signs. Inside the building, the Caring Council decorated a hallway with photos to honor local veterans. Cobble students also enjoyed a STEAM-focused assembly during lunch, led by the PHS robotics team, who showcased one of their robots and talked about the importance of science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And then towards the end of November, Cobbles held parent-guardian conferences in person, over Teams, or by phone. Administrators also set up a coffee, candy, and cocoa bar, which sounds good right now, for faculty to help keep energy up throughout conference days. The library transformed into a welcoming space for the annual Scholastic Book Fair, where every student received a free $10 book of their choice, and that wasn't there when I was a student, so that's a cool change. There was also a family night with students and parents browsing the selections together. To wrap up the month, kindergarten students participated in the Cobbles Macy's Day Balloon Parade, proudly walking through the halls with the balloons they created alongside their 5th grade buddies. And then I'll move on to Juliana's report. All right. Across the district, each school has been pouring its heart into building safer, kinder, and more connected spaces, and it shows. Penfield High School has expanded opportunities for students to participate directly in school processes and decision-making. Students were included on the interview committee for the hiring of a new art teacher, and each third period class is working on food donation as part of their community building project. Scribner Road continues to center its culture in the district's CARE acronym: cooperative, accountable, respectful, and empathetic. This month's focus was on understanding what respect looks like, sounds like, and feels like. The school also advanced its work around disability awareness. A special education teacher launched a disability awareness club for second and third graders, providing opportunities for students to listen to stories, participate in simulations, and develop empathy for a variety of abilities and perspectives. Student-created posters will be displayed throughout the building to further promote awareness. At Bay Trail, Rock Dogs visited to support wellness initiatives, and the student advisory group met to reflect on the bell-to-bell cell phone expectations and Yonder Pouch implementation. Students provided input on how these measures have impacted their daily experience during the first quarter. This structured opportunity for feedback helps ensure that policy decisions are student-led. Collectively, these efforts around the district are strengthening relationships within each school and promoting a positive climate where all students can feel valued and connected. And then that's all from me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
I'll say, so I'm going to put you both on the spot because you both sit on my Superintendent's Advisory Council.
Yeah.
Can you share with the board and the community about maybe some of the conversations that we've had to open up dialogue and to access your voices in a way to improve our district overall?
Yeah. Well, 2 meetings ago, we just kind of had a circle talk, and it wasn't really planned out at first, but we all kind of just sat around, and it was like off the trails where we were actually supposed to be going, but we just sat around and just talked about like what students wanted in the district, issues, and basically it just went on a whole tangent, but it was, everyone really enjoyed it, and I think all the students valued the opportunity to voice their opinions. And I could just see it on their faces, like they definitely liked sharing their opinions. And then the last meeting that we had, we talked about different leadership styles, and we kind of did like simulations, like when you should use each leadership style, and I'm excited to see where that has to lead us, I guess.
Yeah.
See where that takes us.
Yeah.
Liam, do you have anything?
I really appreciated the last meeting about leadership styles. It really resonated with me, and it felt like I could, instead of just bringing in what I had to say to these meetings, I feel like I could take something out of it now, and it improved my way of how I can problem solve and associate different ways of taking care of things.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you both for sharing, and thank you so much for joining us on a monthly basis and sharing your voices. And I absolutely appreciate the leadership of our Executive Director, Maureen Mustafa-George, for helping to co-facilitate those meetings on a monthly basis. And our teacher on special assignment, Mary Callahan. So we're going to keep the agenda going. And I have quite a few student and staff honors, and our student reps may have beat me to a couple of things, so I apologize if I sound redundant. But we want to start with the Hochstein Orchestras. Congratulations to our Penfield High School student Ashlyn Clark on being selected as a member of the Hochstein Philharmonia Orchestra for the 2025-26 school year. Also, congratulations to the following students: Madeline, Adam, Alexander, Lucas, and Evan on being selected as members of the Hochstein Youth Symphony Orchestra for the 25-26 school year. Rochester Philharmonic Youth Orchestra, congratulations to Penfield High School students Eva, Miles, Daniel, Lena, Benjamin, Alyssa, and Evelyn on being selected as members of the Rochester Philharmonic Youth Orchestra for the 25-26 school year. Sportsmanship Awards. The Penfield Central School District's girls swimming and diving team was selected as the winner of the 2025 Sportsmanship Award for the fall season. This award is voted on by the officials throughout the season and is a tremendous honor. We are so proud of our students, and way to make us proud. Our Golden Apple Award, as was shared earlier by Aiden, congratulations to Penfield High School teacher Justin Wolf, who was recognized by Channel 8 with a Golden Apple Award for being a great teacher. He was nominated by sophomore Jackson for his ability to connect with students and to make learning fun. Sectional championships. Congratulations to Penfield High School varsity football team on winning the first Section 5 football championship in school history. Congratulations also goes out to the boys varsity volleyball team on bringing home their second Section 5 championship in a row. And so we have a star award in our midst. We want to wish congratulations to our Assistant Superintendent for Educational Services, Maycanitza Pérez, on being named a recipient of the Latinas Unidas Star of Impact Award for 2025. Recipients were honored for their community impact, partnership, commitment to the Latinas Unidas mission, and representation in the professional community. Congratulations, Maycanitza. And we have a wonderful accomplishment here this evening. We want to acknowledge and celebrate Nancy Bradstreet for her 26 years of communication excellence to the Penfield Central School District. We're thrilled to celebrate Nancy for her incredible time and her dedication as our district's Director of Communications. Nancy has played a vital role in shaping and supporting every message delivered to families and the broader Penfield community. Her commitment and expertise have been instrumental in keeping our community informed and connected. Congratulations, Nancy, for an outstanding career here in this district, and we wish you best wishes for a joyful retirement. Please join me in a round of applause. Okay, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to LaShara Evans for an HR update.
Good evening, everyone. Congratulations, Nancy, again. And as you can imagine in the last 26 years, how communication has evolved and transformed, and Nancy was part of all of it. On her way deciding that she was going to retire, she shared with us that the job of a communications director is now more than just one person. There needs to be a team. And even though she's leaving us, she was making sure that she was giving us that advice to leave the district in good hands. With that, I am so happy on behalf of Penfield Central School District to introduce our communications team, and we can now say team, who is here today. I'm gonna read a little bit about both of them and their titles, so just bear with me. Dr. Melissa Greco-Lopez is our new Director of Public Relations, and I'm gonna read the entire bio. I know you probably want me to shorten it, but I'm gonna read it, it's important. Dr. Melissa Greco-Lopez is a Rochester-based public relations professional bringing more than 20 years of experience to the Penfield Central School District. Greco-Lopez earned her bachelor's degree in public relations from the University of Miami, a master's degree in communications and media technology from Rochester Institute of Technology, and a doctorate in executive leadership from St. John Fisher University. Most recently, she has served as an assistant director of marketing and communications at St. John Fisher University. In this role, she executed media relation efforts, produced a suite of campus-wide newsletters, served on an emergency response team, and assisted in the creation of marketing publications for the university. Over the course of her career, she has earned several awards for her work, including 5 PRISM Awards and 3 Awards of Excellence from the Rochester chapter of Public Relations Society of America, PRSA. In 2021, she was named to the Rochester Business Journal 40 Under 40 list. So please help me welcome Dr. Melissa Greco-Lopez. I also have the pleasure of introducing and welcoming Mr. Jamie Smith. Jamie is a marketing and communications professional from Rochester, New York, with experience in education, nonprofits, and the music industry. Jamie has held progressive roles at a local community college where he directed marketing efforts for auxiliary units and directed the school's social media presence. He currently serves as a senior communication assistant with the Rochester City School District, where he crafts contents and celebrates students and school achievements by keeping stakeholders well informed. Jamie's career reflects his commitment to empowering organizations and individuals to share their stories with impact. Welcome, Jamie Smith.
I'm just going to jump in here and echo some of the words that our Assistant Superintendent Evans has shared this evening in regards to Nancy wanting to leave Penfield in great hands. And many of our communications, as we were talking about posting the position, she says it really requires a team approach. And so we are so thankful, Nancy, for your insight and the direction that you've offered to us in designing these two positions. We are forever grateful for your service in that way, and in all of the ways that you have been able to support us over the years. And then I'll also add that throughout the process in choosing these two phenomenal candidates that we welcome as part of our new district's communication team, I think that there is such a beautiful opportunity as you both step into this role to support our district in elevating the things that we know that we want to communicate and share the specific information with our families. So we are so excited to have both of you join our district and to transform our district, both in the areas of public relations and digital media. And there's one other thing I'd like to add, and I know this was not a part of the bio for Mr. Jamie Smith, but I want to also highlight that Jamie is a Penfield graduate. Yep. So we welcome you back to Penfield, Jamie, in this new role. So I think that there's going to be such an opportunity again for us to elevate the work that we're doing. And we look forward to doing that both in partnership with both of you. Okay, and so now we'll turn it over to Dr. Driffill for a business update.
All right, thanks, Dr. Potter. Good evening, board. So this update is decidedly less exciting than the student reports and the HR report and Dr. Potter's report, but there's some important things to go over as well. So tonight we're going to review the 26-27 budget development goals, guidelines, and factors. The Board of Education will have opportunity to provide input on the GGF, as we call it, before we adopt it at our meeting in January. For your action and approval this evening are capital project change orders. I think there were about a handful of those up for review. We have to approve the 25-26 levy collection report. So there's a report from our district treasurer in your packet this evening. We ended up collecting 98% of the levy this year, which was a bit higher than average in the past. So it was a productive fall. I want to thank all of our town partners, the tax collection partners that do such a good job on our behalf. And then we also need to approve our 2025 reserve plan, which we'll also touch on here. So going back about 6 or 7 years now, we're required to have an annual reserve plan. Boards of education need to adopt it. The plans need to indicate to the community what reserves we have, what their funding levels are, what the authorization is to have them, be it general municipal law, education law, when it was approved by the board or the community. So I'm not going to go through the entire report. That's attached to your packet this evening and will be available on our website. But I just want to go over some high-level things. So we ended the 24-25 year this past June 30th with about $43 million in reserves. So this information is the same as you received back in our September meeting when our auditor, Mr. Zuber, came and presented the report. Kind of what you can see here is at the end of the 2021 year, we were at a similar level. In that year, we had a capital project vote to utilize some cash that was in capital reserve. And you can see over the course of the last handful of years, 4 years, we've been able to build up those reserves again. I'd be remiss not to note that next Tuesday, we have a capital project vote, which will once again put about $20 million of this funding level to work for capital expenditures. So when we look at this next year, we'll see a drop off of our reserve balances. But again, that's planned, it's methodical, it's a multi-year planning process for our facilities upgrades. So that's the overall level, and here is the individual level of what reserves we have. Again, the report goes into detail about the authorization for each reserve, but I'll just quickly note kind of what the reserves are for the community. The workers' compensation reserve specifically covers costs associated with workers' comp premiums or claims that would not otherwise be covered by our consortium. The unemployment insurance reserve covers costs for unemployment for employees if we were to incur layoffs associated with an economic downturn. The ERS retirement contribution reserve is for the employees' retirement system. That's the system for our support staff, the non-instructional folks. TRS is the newly authorized reserve about 6 years ago that we were able to add once the state authorized it. That's a fully funded reserve, so we can't put any more reserves back into that one. I just point that out because that's a bit atypical in how the legislative statute was written. Typically, reserves are left to the discretion of the Board of Education, but that law specifically said it was funded up to a specific statutory amount. Our liability reserve is for judgments or things associated against the district that wouldn't otherwise be covered by insurance. Tax certiorari reserve, so this is for those commercial properties in our district that contest their tax assessments, and then sometimes we incur refunds. Because those commercial properties are so large, we have a specific reserve to offset against that exposure. The employee benefits accrued liability reserve, so this is associated with termination or separation payments from a contractual nature with some of our employees. The 2021 capital reserve for buildings, as I just noticed, is going to be put to use, hopefully, if we have a successful referendum next Tuesday. And then our 2024 capital reserve for bus purchases. So again, just a little over $43 million on reserves this year. Again, the plan goes into much more detail. If anybody ever has questions about the plan itself or anything therein, please don't hesitate to contact my office. So let's jump over to the 26-27 budget development goals, guidelines, and factors. I'd be remiss to note that every time I look at this, I think 6-7.
6-7. 6-7.
I promise I won't do that at every meeting. But I had to point it out at least once for the kids. Yep. So we are amidst a strategic reevaluation, obviously, that we're looking at this year. But the goals that are aligned are still aligned to our strategic plan that we currently have. So it's a little bit in flux there, but I acknowledge that in the report. Obviously, we're going to look for legal compliance, maintain program excellence, maintenance of our technology infrastructure, and maintaining our commitments that were made in the equity long-range plan. Guidelines around student and staff balances, professional learning and its frameworks for our faculty, a commitment to leverage aid sources when available, specifically for instructional materials and BOCES aid, and striving for operational efficiency, particularly in our facilities and transportation departments. So the main budget development factors that we're looking at this year, at this point in the budget development process, it's still very early, but we have some key considerations that I want the board to be aware of as we head into the spring months with budget development. Enrollment projections, personnel considerations, health insurance costs, pension system employer contribution rates, and state aid outlook. So in addition to the budget goals and development factors, the board has been furnished with a copy of our annual enrollment report. It's a detailed report. I think it's 20 some odd pages. Board, if you haven't had a chance to fully go through it, please do, and let me know if you have any questions associated with that. What this chart is a chart of live births in Monroe County, going back all the way to the early 1970s. You can see when the chart started, we had a little over 9,000 births in the county, peaking at 12,000 around 1990, and all the way down to just under 7,000 this year. So this is the lowest amount that we've had since we started tracking this information. The reason I point this out is because while so many of our neighboring districts continue to have declining enrollment based on fewer live births, you can see in this enrollment chart for Penfield Central is that we've still been seeing a continuous kind of increase in our enrollment. So for this current school year, the 25-26 school year, our Beds Day official enrollment was 4,692. That's up 34 students from last year, the 4658. And those red 5 out years are the next 5 years projections. For the next school year, we're projecting another increase of about a little over 40 kids at 4737. So obviously, students are sort of central to our enrollment because that dictates staffing and faculty. And as we all know, that's the biggest part of our budget. So obviously very early, but these are the numbers we utilize for our projection, and historically they've been pretty accurate. So we will continue to keep an eye on this literally all the way up until the first day of school next September. This team knows how often we evaluate it, and we're always relaying that information with our principals and making our choices for staffing and faculty. For personnel, as I mentioned, personnel is our biggest expense. So we have 1 open union contract currently and 2 expiring at year end. I think what I want to, at least publicly state is that we have a desire to compensate our people fairly in those negotiations. We do have a handful or half dozen of new unbudgeted positions that have been added to the budget in this current year that will have to be reflected in next year's budget. So I'll make sure I point those out when we go into specific functions of the budget, but I just wanted the board and community to be aware of where we stand there. And as we heard from Mrs. Watt earlier, when we get into that late winter, early spring, that's really when we're refining those faculty and staff needs based on what students are choosing for courses. We're doing annual evaluations for students' needs to see what kind of supports they need. And then the one thing I'll note, a little knock on wood is, particularly with our support staff, is that the labor market has stabilized quite a bit. We're seeing much more applicants for some of the positions where we've really struggled in the last 5 years. Transportation, facilities, some of those things. So I just want the board to be aware of that positive development. Health premiums. So we do know the premium cost for the calendar year 2026, but not for 2027 yet. So dental premiums are up 4% year over year. Dental doesn't make up too much of an expense, but I just wanted to point that out. Our under 65 active health plans are facing a 9.9% premium increase, which is in line with medical and pharmaceutical trends. That 9.9 is actually less than what we're seeing in a lot of other regions around the state. It still feels like a lot because for a district of our size, that's a more than $1 million increase just right there in our budget for next year. For our over 65 plan costs, those Medicare plans, those are also substantially increasing next year due to some new and proposed Medicare changes. They're still significantly less expensive than they would have been if we did not form that countywide consortium 2 years ago for Medicare. So I don't want, to lose the forest, in the trees. It was still a positive thing, but we're just not saving as much as we were last year and the year prior. So obviously much more to come on that, but those early factors. For the pension system contribution rates, so the ERS, as I mentioned earlier, the employer's retirement system, the employer contribution rate is increasing from 16.5% to 17.6%. So that's nearly a 7% year over year difference. What this is the percent of earnings that the district has to pay on behalf of an employee towards the state pension systems. For the teacher's retirement system, this is the really ray of good news in tonight's report. The contribution rate is currently 9.59%, and the range for next year is estimated to be between 8.25 and 8.75%. So that's a substantial decrease, and will actually probably result in us saving money budget to budget on TRS costs. So that's a real positive. That number is typically finalized at the end of January or early February, so I'll be sure to follow up with the board on that. And then these are just the historical rates for your ERS. So you can see kind of around the late 90s, run up to the millennium, those rates were basically zero as the stock market really had some strong returns, really kind of going way back up into the gap elimination year after the recession and sort of stabilizing or so in the last 6 or 7 years. On the TRS side, of kind of a similar trajectory. High in the 70s, 80s, coming way down in the 90s, and gradually building back up, kind of crescending after the recession, and then stabilizing a bit. So that's kind of some expense factors on the revenue side of the budget, taking a look at what we might be seeing from the governor during her executive budget proposal in January. Right now, the state is projecting a $4 billion gap for next year and even larger in the 2 following out years, so over the 3-year period. Right now, education aid is projected at 3.2% increase from the Division of Budget, whereas the Office of the State Comptroller, OSC, there is estimating a 3% increase in school aid. Obviously, everything is contingent upon the executive's proposal and this corresponding legislative reconciliation. I should note that the $4 billion projection is actually a little bit better news than was a couple months ago. It's decreased a little bit. So obviously, we'll see what happens, and we'll be keeping a close eye on it throughout the spring months.
All right, thank you. Board members, any questions or comments?
It's a great job.
Nice job.
Great job putting that together.
Thanks.
Helps us to see it when it's a complicated thing already. The way you put it together, Dan, really helps us to understand it better. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So that concludes the superintendent's reports, and I turn it back over to our board president.
Thank you. So we have no public comments tonight. And no parent advisory. Yeah, so new to the agenda, we have the Parent Advisory Board, the partnership, and that's in line with our board goal of community engagement. And so in the coming board meetings, we will have members from PTO, PTA, PTSA, SEPTA, and PACE come and present and share all the great things that they're doing across the district. So, and let's go to, can I please have a motion and a second that the 2026-27 Penfield High School Course Description Guide be approved as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Who?
Okay, second.
All in favor? All in favor, none opposed? And can I please have a motion and a second that the change order as described be approved?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? All in favor, none opposed? You have it, you have them? Okay. Can I please have a motion and a second that the Board of Education approves the 2025-2026 property tax collection status due, including all the additions and cancellations made to the original approved levy amount?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor, none opposed? And can I please have a motion and a second that the Board of Education hereby approves the annual reserve plan and the presented recommendations and directs that the recommendations for reserve use be incorporated into the 2026-27 budget planning process?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor, none opposed? And so that moves us to the policies, yes, for first read.
I can speak to those just briefly. Board members and community, as part of our process for evaluating our district policies, we have realized that there are a couple of policies that we want to move forward now as opposed to waiting until the audit is complete. We've been working with Erie One BOCES to take a look, senior cabinet, we've gone through and exhausted almost all of the policies in the 8,000 series to reflect the regulations, the alignment of the board, and the alignment and the expectations of the district. And so with that, there are a couple of policies that we wanted to bring for first read tonight and then move forward to approving in the January meeting. And these policies work to protect our students and other confidential information within our district. Several updated policies and administrative regulations. So when you see in R1, that's the regulation, that's the administrative regulation, and that's really how we'll be acting out. So for this evening, we wanted to share some information related to acceptable use of the district's computerized information resources, including electronic mail. The requirements of the updated policies include 6410, it's the employee use of computerized information resources, the acceptable use policy. 6411, use of email in the district. 6480, use of social media, as well as the updated administrative regulation, 6481. And 7314, acceptable and safe uses of district electronic information services and networks. And so as referenced earlier, I think what's really important to call out is there is a place within our district communications that we want to make sure that we're safeguarding. We've also made some initial efforts so that anytime someone within the district uses or accesses a district computerized device that is owned by the district, there's a splash screen that pulls up these policies so that there's an awareness of the expectation for utilization of these devices, as well as making the connection for our students with 7314 and the acceptable use for students, and that's going to be tied to the language that's detailed in our code of conduct and support. And so we'll put these policies out to the community as part of our first read, and we look forward to moving them into our policy manual at the next board meeting. Okay?
And then we'll move on to Monroe County School Board Association committee meetings. Anyone, any members have anything to report?
Just briefly, I was in the Zoom on Monday this week with Monroe County Legislative Committee, Zooming with representatives from various, well, Jen Lunsford's office, for example, is really relevant to us. And they were basically going over our position papers and kind of lining up our priorities for the year, which kind of prepping them for the legislative breakfast that'll happen in February. So it was just good to hear all that.
It was a really good informational meeting this month about school lockdown drills. Very informative. I think it'd be really helpful for our school principals to listen to. Not that they're not doing a great job. I don't know what we do as kind of nuts and bolts, how we run our drills, I should say. But the person that spoke had a lot of really good ideas, had a lot of data that she collected herself, big numbers, good results. So I think it would be helpful for our principals to listen to that and just see if they could pick up any ideas to use. Fantastic.
And
really.
I attended that meeting in person, so
Yeah.
you must have been on the virtual end
I was on the
of it.
virtual, yeah.
So that was the information exchange, and I agree with you, board member. The conversation really talked about the importance of practice, because if we don't find ourselves engaging in regular practice, then it makes it very difficult for us to exercise those muscles of memory when we find ourselves potentially in a crisis. So there was quite a bit of information shared. It's interesting because as part of that information exchange, I know that Dr. Driffill and Mr. Wilson, I sent a very lengthy email just the other day talking about our drills in practice and making sure that we're constantly having some conversations and revisiting. So I appreciate you making the reference
Do you
to
know,
how.
are we taking results of are the doors locked? Do we have numbers and things like that? Are we?
So the data is key, right?
Yeah.
So we haven't engaged to the extent that I know that was presented as part of the information exchange, but one of the things that we do need to have some conversation about in regards to the drills is when we're walking around the building and we're checking to make sure that the doors are locked as part of a drill. what that looks like in some additional conversations as part of a debrief that we should be holding with our building principals. So I feel like there's a number of ways that we can continue to refine our practices, and the more that we practice overall, the better equipped we are as a system to make sure that we're prepared.
Definitely.
So thank you for bringing that forward. And executive committee, board president and I attended that one, and also shared some conversation around the position papers. So as an executive committee, that one is made up of superintendent and board presidents. There was a number of discussions around making sure that we're prepared to advocate for all of the things that school districts need in support of moving forward with the legislative committee's work. So there was some alignment, I think, in the legislative's conversation and that with the executive committee's conversation.
And so that will move us to the district community committee meetings. Anything to report? Okay. All right, so we have no unfinished business and no new business. So we are going to, at this time, may I have a motion made in a second that the Board of Education move into an executive session at 7:36 p.m.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor, none opposed. All right, we are moving into executive session. The meeting is called back to order at 8:19 p.m. And so, okay, so whereas an appeal of the decision of the superintendent of schools regarding student discipline was made to the Board of Education in accordance with Section 3214 of the New York Education Law, whereas the Board of Education in executive session duly considered the arguments made in support of the appeal and fully reviewed the records of the matter in light of said argument. Now therefore, it is hereby resolved that the disciplinary actions imposed by the superintendent of schools is upheld. The board finds contentment in substantial evidence the student engaged in charged misconduct and deems the penalty imposed appropriate given the nature of the misconduct and anecdotal evidence in the record. So, can I have I'm going to now do the roll call, right? So I will start with Scott.
I agree. Yay.
Wait, first I think I should do a motion.
Do
in
we
a
need the
second.
motion
Yes,
first?
sorry, I apologize. So, can I have a motion and a second made that the Board of Education approves the resolution regarding the student discipline appeals to Section 3214 of the Education Law?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so I am going to now do
The ayes.
the ayes and the nays. Scott?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Krista?
Aye.
Aye. So, at this time, may I have a motion and a second that the meeting be adjourned at 8:21 p.m.
So moved. Second.
Meeting's adjourned.
Oh, we didn't vote.
Oh, sorry, no, meeting's not adjourned. All in favor? All right, meeting's adjourned. 8:22. Sorry, I can't see.